Chandavita Sutra now, the last page. Okay. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, or meeting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted ones, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Dear friends, last week we spoke about the special discourse of the Buddha, which was the Vitakka Santhana Sutta. If you can remember, on Wednesday we spoke about how to handle our negative emotions. how to control our unwanted thoughts, mental activities. So, anyone can remember what steps we spoke about? What are the techniques that Buddha gives us? Any clue?
Mindfulness?
Mental was one.
What is it?
Think about the good things, like try to shift your thoughts to the good.
Okay.
Positive.
Yes. Okay. We spoke only about two steps or two techniques that Buddha gives us. So we spoke about them in general, like how we all want to control our negative thoughts and emotions from time to time, as we all are going through these things in our everyday life. So there are so many things, so many techniques that many people want to try, apply to get rid of them. So especially in modern psychology, the behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and all these things, talking about these things, how to control our negative emotions, our negative thoughts, negativities overall. So in the Buddha's teachings, in this particular sutra discourse, Buddha also spoke about different techniques, methods to control, to overcome our negative emotions, disturbing thoughts. So first one was actually one should contemplate on these negative thoughts as they arise from time to time, to shift the theme, or changing the story in simple terms, right? So suppose a particular emotion, negative mental experience is present in your mind, you find it's very difficult to let go or control, so it is really consuming you, disturbing you, draining you sometimes. Sometimes you cannot sleep, sometimes you cannot focus on one single thing. You cannot properly function as a normal person sometimes, depending on the intensity of these emotions, negative thoughts. So they are having different stories, different thoughts, different flavors, or different colors, as we can see, right? So when you notice these things, Buddha proposes us that we need to mindfully change the theme, change these stories skillfully. Being very mindful, as you said, the important step to apply all these things actually is the mindfulness. You need to be aware of them as they are present in yourself. So knowing how how they are negatively affecting you. So you need to be very skillful in controlling them in such a way that you simply shift, you change the theme of these mental activities. So it is like, so what was the example that Buddha gives here? Buddha explained, just as a skilled carpenter or his apprentice would use a small peg to knock out, drive out, and pull out a large one. Just like that. Using different themes, different story, we can simply eliminate what is disturbing us. What is really destroying my inner peace. So in that sense, we need to be very skillful in what type of peg you are using to knock out this large one. So this is a very tricky thing, right? So sometimes people use different pegs. Sometimes they are harmful to them. sometimes they are disturbing them more, right? So therefore, we have to be very skillful, very smart in selecting these different themes. So that is why it is always important to get to know the Dhamma, the teachings, or what are the positive, effective, skillful means or techniques. So there we need to be very smart, skillful. So whenever these negative thoughts, emotions are present, we need to be able to switch the gears, change our attention to something positive, something skillful. So that way we can simply let go of the negative effect of these emotions. So this is the first one. The third one, second one was, who can remember? So you simply think about the drawbacks of these thoughts or negative emotions. So if you happen to continue these negative thoughts, emotions, what would be the consequence? What would be the negative result for you sooner or later? So you need to contemplate on the simple matter. How they would affect me sooner or later in every possible aspects, So when we think about these negative consequences, whenever these negative thoughts or emotions or behaviors are present, when you do it again and again as a training, you need to remind yourself again and again about these negative consequences if you happen to continue them, if you happen to indulge in these things. So when you get to know the drawbacks, the negative effects, you simply discourage yourself. You simply discourage these negativities of continuing, right? So that they no longer continue as they arise in yourself. So this is a very special step, as a very practical thing. This is a very difficult thing for human beings even, for all of us. Why? We don't even take enough time to contemplate on that step, right? So whatever comes to our mind, whatever comes to our immediate attention, we just put it out, or we simply react to them. We perform that action. So this is a very unskillful way of dealing with our emotions, our negative thoughts. So in a way, in the Dhamma, we can see it is the animal nature. It is the animal nature just to react to our emotions, negative thoughts right away, without any judgment, without any investigation, without prior thinking. So that is the action of an emotional brain, which has no judgment. That's why we say that our emotions are blind. So when these emotions are present, they make you blind. They prevent you from thinking, analyzing, wisely understanding. So that is the nature of these emotions, negative thoughts. So therefore, knowing that the harmful effect of these negative thoughts and emotions, we need to take some time patiently to simply think about the drawbacks, the negative consequences. If we happen to continue this way, if we happen to react to these emotions this way, this is how it will result me. So when you can simply understand that, you discourage these negative thoughts. So then it would become the rational responding to these emotions without emotionally reacting to them, taking enough time, using our brain, our intellect, our thinking capacity, our entire knowledge, our all skills, to think about the consequence. So taking enough time, we rationalize them, we clearly understand them, how they arise, what is the nature of these conditions whenever they are present in myself, and even what happens when I perform them, after I perform them, for myself, for others. So this is another step of a spiritual life, and that is the moment we begin to think about others, not just myself. We need to think about the consequences for others from my action. So when you happen to realize that, if it is negative, if it brings you harm, danger, insecurity, pain for yourself and others, you should not perform that action. That is the spiritual advice Buddha gives us. So the second technique is to think about the drawbacks, negative consequences of these negative emotions. Okay. So today the third one we have to look at. So Buddha says, if evil, unskillful thought imbued with desire, aversion or delusion still arise in the monk while he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, he should pay no mind and pay no attention to those thoughts. So this is the third technique actually. How can you do that? How can you not look at it? So that is also a very important thing. Just like, when we meditate, this is a very big problem for many people, especially in the beginning. It's a big problem for many people what they can hear around them. These sounds are a big problem for them. So sometimes people have no clue how to handle that, how to maintain the inner peace while there are sounds going on around us. So among the techniques of how to get rid of that disturbance from the thoughts, there's a very simple one, which is not to pay any attention to them. Right? Not to pay any attention to them. This is a very unique technique. The more you pay your attention, more distracted you become. That means whenever you happen to hear these sounds around you, you always want these sounds to go away, which is not a realistic thing. You can never stop these sounds around you. So the more you resist, more disturbed you become. The resistance itself creates a big problem, tension, these worries. So therefore, one single technique is to not to pay any attention to them, neglect them. Simply neglect them, avoid them, pay no attention to them. So similarly, whenever these thoughts are arising in our mind, so this is a very practical thing for meditators. Another problem, huge problem, is the thoughts. They are not outside, but they are within ourselves. They are within our mind, but it's very difficult to control. And that can be one of the techniques even to control our negative thoughts. Also, you can simply pay no attention to them. Just disregard them. Pay no attention. Don't give any attention to them. Neglect them. So that way you can simply let go of them. So sometimes when you try to work them out, when you try to do certain things, itself can be quite distracting. When we apply different techniques. So it's very interesting step that Buddha gives us, just to neglect it. Don't pay any attention, right? Because you are giving some attention means you are giving some value to it, right? You are giving some importance to these unnecessary thoughts. So pay no attention. Then these thoughts have no energy, no power to continue and disturb you. So that is what Buddha teaches us as the third skillful mean to control our unwanted thoughts. So Buddha says the example is very interesting. Just as a man with good eyes, not wanting to see forms that had come into range, would close his eyes or look away. Just like that. Right? It's very simple. Don't look at it. Pay no attention to it. So that way you can control these negative thoughts and emotions. But we can see how hard it is, how difficult it is when these thoughts and emotions are very powerful, very strong, how they are connected to our everyday life experience, right? Even though we can talk like this, it's very difficult, very hard to let go of them. It's not that simple. But from time to time, when you become very skillful, there can be sometimes you can apply these techniques. Sometimes you can control them. Okay? So remember that. So the other one, Buddha says, he should attend to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts. As he is attending to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles in, unifies it and concentrates it. So Buddha gives a very practical another example. Just as the thought would occur to a man walking quickly, why am I walking quickly? Why don't I walk slowly? So he walks slowly. The thought occurs to him, why am I walking slowly? Why don't I stand? So he stands. The thought occurs to him, why am I standing? Why don't I still sit down? So he sits down. So, what does it mean here? What it teaches here? So you need to do some exercise. This is the point there, So whenever these negative thoughts and emotions are present, you cannot simply let it happen. Sometimes Buddha gives us these different techniques when the prior techniques are not working anymore, no longer, right? Try this technique. So this can be another step, that is to simply do some exercise. So what do you think that would be? What kind of steps? How can you relax your mind fabrications, these mental activities, these grossy levels of our mental activities?
Meditation.
Exactly, right? This is a very important, effective exercise. Meditation. Take some time to sit down and relax. So as a very practical exercise, example, experience, we all can see that. Whenever you try to sit down quietly, with closed eyes maybe, whenever you try to focus on a very soothing, positive object, all these thoughts get settled. They become very subtle. You can clearly see how they are no longer disturbing you, distracting you, because you are exercising your mind. So people use this technique in different ways. Sometimes people do some walking meditation. So in the practical world, what type of things people do to let go of these disturbing thoughts? Sometimes people listen to music, right? Sometimes people go to gym, work out, right? Sometimes hang out with friends, or find someone to talk to and share this negative thought, feeling. So this is very fortunate to have someone like that, to listen to our stories, our dramas. So that way we can easily relax, let go of these negative effects of these emotions. So therefore, to do some work, exercise our mind, not just letting them be there. You need to do certain activities to relax these thoughts. So this is what Buddha explained. So as you can see, the example, it gives us a very interesting clue that you are kind of gaining your control over that experience. You are not simply letting these emotions control you, take you over, but guiding your mind, guiding your attention, your behavior. You are little by little, gradually, you are taking the control. That way, you can exercise these thoughts and let go of that thought fabrications, the grossy level of these mental experiences, activities. So this is very interesting step. And the last one Buddha says, so whenever we try all these techniques, the steps to control, let go of our negative emotions, Buddha says, with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush his mind with his awareness. What does it mean? This is very important too.
To be a strict teacher to yourself.
Yeah, kind of, right? So you can be a little bit tough, right? Just like when you try to control a little baby, a child, right? Sometimes you need to be a little bit tough on that child, right? Otherwise, it will be very hard to control. So as human beings, we need to understand our human potential too. We all have the capability, the skills to control ourselves. This is a very unique attribute of human beings. Unlike animals, we all have the powers to control, purify the mind. So we need to simply acknowledge that unique quality in ourselves. So by our courage, firm determination, taking it so seriously, that I'm going to control it, I'm going to do my best on this, having this confidence in yourself, you should work so hard to not to indulge in these negative thoughts or putting them into action or not to react towards these emotions. So Buddha says to use your own power, energy, courage, determination, and wisely we need to use that technique too. Otherwise, sometimes the trying so hard itself can be really distracting. So it happens for many people even during the meditation. So we can see how people try so hard. So sometimes I open my eyes and I look at people how they meditate. It's very interesting. I can see sometimes a lot of dramas going on their faces. Their experiences. Sometimes they have closed their eyes too tight. A lot of tension is there. So we can see that. So while we meditate, we need to be aware of that. How our working so hard can be really distracting us. So Buddha gives us a very good example there. One day a very good musician who was we can say a violinist, violin player, came to the Buddha. Actually, this person was trying so hard to practice meditation. So then Buddha knew that this person was a very good violin player. So then Buddha took that example to teach him a lesson. So Buddha asked him, tell me, monk, what if you happen to tighten the strings on your violin so hard? What would be the sound like? So he said, Vanti, that would be terrible. It's not going to produce a nice, soothing sound. And then Buddha asked, what if you happen to loosen it too much? And he said, it is also the same. It is not going to produce any soothing, entertaining music, sound. So Buddha said, when you try, when you apply this courage, energy, determination, you have to be very moderate, knowing the limit, which simply means whatever the effort you are putting on to your practice should not distract you. Then it gives us a clue. The important thing is that it doesn't say that you should not try so hard. It doesn't say that, right? You have to be very smart in knowing that how much is it disturbing you. And if it is not bothering you, if it is not disturbing you, distracting you, that much you can work. Work so hard, it's okay. So that type of energy, courage, determination, we have to apply to our practice. Especially when we want to control our negative thoughts and emotions. So these are the techniques Buddha introduces us to control our negative thoughts and emotions in this Vitakka Santana, this special discourse. Okay. So finally, Buddha summarizes it. Now when a monk attending to another thing, scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, paying no mind and paying no attention to those thoughts, attending to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, beating down, constraining and crushing his mind with his awareness, steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it and concentrates it. He is then called a monk with mastery over the waves of thought sequences. He thinks whatever thought he wants to and doesn't think whatever thought he doesn't. He has served craving, thrown off the fetters, and thought through the right penetration of conceit has made an end of suffering and stress. This is how one should master his or her own mind. So this is exactly Buddha teaches us how to gain the total control of our mind, our mental experience, and how to become a master, taking the control over it. So the practicing of this spiritual path ends in the total gaining of the total control of our mental experience that way. So this is what Buddha taught. So do you have any idea, any thought about these techniques? Or perhaps you have been using these techniques already in different ways, right? Depending on your understanding, your experience.
Yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on the emotion. If it's something really, really strong
Right.
and really depressing, like grief,
Right.
I've had tremendous luck changing my mind by imagining the emotion as a paint stroke, but it also makes a sound. It's like, if it's really sad, it's like a cello or a bass even. But then it's just abstract, it's just painting and then it's not a feeling anymore. It
Right.
goes away. Till it comes back around again.
Mhm.
And then, paint something else. And then, if I'm thinking something really messed up and I need to just kind of turn away, I'll throw black paint on it. I'll just throw black paint on the thought and it just goes away. I just scrub it in. Scrub it out. Literally scrub out the thought. His chores are good, but so, yeah, I know that. But they are.
Right. So
Stuff like that.
we all have different experiences, right? Different choices. So it's always good to know different techniques because there is no only one way. This is the important thing to know, right? If there was only one way, we all have to deal with that. But we have a choice here, right? depending on who we are, what we are, you know, our inner experiences, our characters, our behaviors, our intellect, right? Our knowledge. All these things are important here. The important practical thing is here that we need to be able to use the right technique at the right time. Right? So that way, that's how we become the masters of our own mind. Okay? Alright, so that's all for tonight, and thank you very much. Right?